Hey, this is Zach Log the Great, and I am here tonight with my friend Nate
Salud.
and with Ben of Pinkerton's Ghosts.
Hey, hey.
Would you like to tell people about that and or other projects you have going?
Sure. Pinkerton's Ghost is a horror anthology podcast edited by me, and I write about a third of it. Well, more than a third of it, but we also have some guests. My two co hosts are Ken Dickinson and Anthony Marchetta, who also runs the Superversive Sunday live stream with me. You can check us out on the Superversive SF YouTube channel every Sunday, but I'm hoping to branch out into places like Unauthorized soon. We're actually about to release the 2 hour long episode Jack versus the Wild Hunt to Unauthorized if you're on it. It's going to be a wild ride.
It I've listened. I haven't listened to the whole thing. I've listened to a few of them. Would it be do you think it'd be accurate to describe it as a little bit like if X-Files were written by Christians?
Oh yeah, it's a mix of things. Like I grew up on the X Files, but I also make sure to add some Monster Hunter, some Jim Butcher, just a little bit of everything. Like the goal isn't to like create a new genre or any of those other things people seem to get caught up on. The goal is to take what works, use it well, and then just push it to its utter end in a Christian sense. We've got some new guest episodes coming in that I think will love it. Just had Miss A.M. Freeman. We're getting a few more guest episodes from actors in Hollywood. Who, but no one. No, not really. They're like, bottom of the barrel tier. But man, their headshots great.
Ones
They're
who
going to
haven't
do.
taken the ticket yet.
Oh, exactly. But I would have never been so gauche to say it. Uh, you don't want to remind them of their final destination.
Well, it's not all of them. It just happens to too many. But um, anyway, so we are getting together tonight to talk about Shakespeare's sonnet number 7. And Ben has graciously agreed to read it for us. Before we get to that, two quick reminders. One, if you like my work, like what I do, you'd like to help support my channel, you can go to subscribestar.com/Zachlog-the-great. The link it will be in the show description. Also, wherever you happen to be watching this, there it should show up on at least 2 other platforms. So I have a YouTube channel, I have a BitChute channel, and I have an Odyssey channel. Um, and I will put links to all of those in the description as well. So wherever you happen to be watching this, you can find it somewhere else. And I would recommend, if you like my show, following me on more than one platform, in case either the platform, kicks me off, or as was the case with VidMe, the platform itself goes kaput. Um, so Having said that, I am going to put our sonnet for the evening up on the screen, and yeah, there we go, and there we go. And when you guys can see that,
There we go. All right. Shall I begin?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Lo, in the Orient, when the gracious light lifts up his burning head, each under eye doth homage to his new appearing sight, serving with looks his sacred majesty, and having climbed the steep up heavenly hill, resembling strong youth in his middle age, yet mortal looks adore his beauty still, attending on his golden pilgrimage. But when from highmost pitch with weary car, like feeble age, he reeleth from the day, the eyes for Duteus now converted are from his low track and look another way. So thou thyself outgoing in thy noon, unlooked on diest, unlooked on diest, unless thou get a son.
Okay.
I apologize
So,
for a little bit of nasalness. I got a cold. It'll go away soon. One hopes.
you
Gonna be doing
you are
that to
not
my
the
church
only
Sunday.
one.
So gonna be
But
doing that to my church Sunday when I'm singing "O Come, Emmanuel." But the
that is
Oh, I haven't
that
sung that in
is
so long.
that is one of my favorite Christmas songs. And already off topic. That's how it goes. And of course, unlike so much of what you hear on the radio when you're walking through the grocery store, it is actually a Christmas song, not generic winter holiday music, which I love Christmas music. I could listen to Christmas music for hours. I get bored really quick with generic winter holiday music.
The
Not the
one on
same
all
thing.
the memes.
Anyway, but so I'm going to preempt comment on this from Nate by pointing out this is yet another one of Shakespeare's oh crud, what's the term for the group of them? Procreation sonnets. His first 15 or so are on a single theme where he's basically talking to this young man and saying, you should definitely go out, find a wife, and make kids. And we've already talked about several of these, and I think Nate's getting a little burned out on this theme. So
there's
I'm
only so many things you can
preemptively
say
making
about it.
that comment here.
There's only so many things you can say about it. I mean, okay, fine. William Shakespeare is this guy's grandma. Okay, I get it.
Now, to be fair, I did just choose this as
Really give me
random.
some grandchildren. Okay. Fine, William.
Fine, Mom.
And now,
William
I-
Mom.
But
Mom
it's
Shakespeare. Will Mom Shakespeare. There it is.
it is kind of funny because actually just today I was listening to the most recent from Stefan Molyneux, which this is a topic he comes back to pretty often, and his most recent was on that. It's like, yeah, you should probably go out and get married and have kids. So I agree that you can talk about this too much, but I do think it's a worthy topic in general, at least.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny too because I've been talking with it about some friends. It's like, all right, guys, what can we do about this? It's getting ridiculous. The only way we'll win this culture war is by outbreeding them and then controlling the thing because they don't breed. Like, what do we care? Most of them will die eaten by their cats. Considering I'm a grim man with grim thoughts, it heartens my heart as I look upon these people and their luxuries, but it's nothing because it's just empty hedonism. The suicide rate's going up, and there's a reason for that. Sorry for nuking your YouTube algorithm. Uh, if you want to bleep that out. But it's one of those things. Like the culture is sick. The only way to do it is to act as if it doesn't matter. I'm a Protestant. I'm a deep lore, deep woods Protestant. If the pastor doesn't have a bit of a twang to him, I don't want to hear it. But it's still there's still stuff to do. Like this to me isn't necessarily a breeding song. I don't want to pitch woo with it or reinforce my heart with it. I want to remind myself that I have sacred duties that follow me throughout my life and my days. He talks about lo the Orient and the Orient when gracious light lifts up burning head each under eye. It's not just like the new life being born, it's the sun illuminating my path and my choices and my work and my labors. You go up and then you go down and then you're dead, but the goal is to leave something. Children in
Well,
Shakespeare's day, but more than that, it's in leaving duty, like fulfilling your duties, fulfilling your labors.
well, and it's also I actually remember being in when I was in my mid-20s and um very single, not just single, but like very single. Um,
Is
and
that like
I remember like thinking like if something doesn't change, I'm gonna die an old man in a nursing home, and no one's what's that? Oh, did we? Nate, are
no?
you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, well, you
Okay,
were
yeah,
still talking. You were
your
just
picture just disappeared. Um,
I'm in my picture. I look like an N64 character, so I'm cool if it goes away.
it
but
does have
anyway,
more polygons.
anyway, but you know, I'm gonna die alone in a nursing home. And no one's ever gonna come to visit me because like when you're an old man, you know no one's really interested in no one's for the vast majority of us no one's particularly interested. No one is going to come to visit you. No one's going to spend a lot of time with you except your kids and your grandkids. And if you have kids, and here's the other important part: if you raise them relatively well, then someday when you're old, they're going to want to come and see you and talk to you and make sure everything is okay. But basically, either if you don't have kids or you have kids and you treat them terribly, um, you know, then when you get to that point, you know, you're basically gonna be by yourself for you know however long a period that is, and have fun with that when the day of the pillow arrives. Um,
May
so
that day
like
come soon.
uh,
No, but what I would
and,
say is this whole idea of having a duty it's true. Okay. I mean, like you read about all these kings that, like, well, honestly, sometimes they have too many sons and that screws things up, or sometimes they don't have enough sons and that screws things up. I understand that, leaving this legacy also helps to stabilize society because, instead of having this sort of churn of you need new people everywhere all the time, you can kind of fill in and stabilize and build up. And so, I see all that. I'm just so tired of hearing it. 15 sonnets. My God, man. Look, if he
Al,
hasn't found a woman yet, okay, it's done. Just leave him alone. He ain't looking. He ain't after that right now. Just let him get into his 40s and get desperate. Of course, I don't know. The time William was writing, 40s was pretty much the end of things.
You could if you live past babehood, you had a pretty good run. You take out infant mortality, they could live to their 80s easy, assuming there's not a civil
yeah.
war, plague, earthquake, natural disaster, a comet in the sky. I could go on. Muslim invasions. Just
Oh,
keep adding to it.
And keep away
I
from this.
I will say, if you think about it in terms of like long term impact, if assuming Shakespeare is actually talking to a particular young man and that he got him to change his mind, that he persuaded him with these poems, um, and that young man went out, found a good woman and had a bunch of kids. Like the change when he would not have otherwise, the change Shakespeare made by doing that is probably at least as great as the change Shakespeare made with the rest of his writing altogether, because that's people that didn't exist that now do. And
Yep.
by this point, it's 400 years later. That could be several thousand people who now exist who would not have otherwise. So, in terms of changing history, I think a strong argument could be made for these set of poems.
Yeah, like it's,
Curious.
I haven't read the other ones, but it's. I'm not a very romantic man. Poetry isn't how my soul sings. I do have the paperclip of a dead poet. I took it from his last manuscript, just as a memento mori, to remind myself that eventually there will be a last manuscript. And I need to work harder. I'm a Protestant. I should be able to just die of overwork at any time, but I'm not. I'm not at that point yet. I'm sorry. I'm a bad.
No, that's
anyway.
Japanese. That's not Protestant.
No, that's the suicide, Sean.
That's the well, the Japanese do it just for no reason, but the Protestants do it because it's godly. But I do want to point this out. Like, there's a clear Sphinx's riddle of a man going through his positions. Like, at a certain point, I'm 32. I'm about to hit my middle age. I'm getting in there, and I realize that I've made poor choices. I'm making better choices now. I'm making very good choices. I'm starting to build things up, and it's going faster and faster in all the right ways. But it's like once you actually set yourself on that path, that illuminated path, that path that leads to duties, more duties and duties and duties on top of them, life does get better, especially for men. Recently, we discovered that film theory was co-written by the odious, the greasy movie Bob. I always wondered what he did for work after The Escapist fired him for incredibly anti-Christian comments. But it's like, compare yourself to Movie Bob. He's simping after women who on Twitter in public will tell him to buzz off. When potentially millions have seen a particularly virulent string of tweets against him by somebody he, was like, "Hey, how you doing?" at a con. And he doesn't have kids. One time his basement flooded and he lost a whole bunch of his video games. And I love a good video game, but it's like, the collection was ruined. And you look at yourself, all right, are you a movie Bob? Fat, lazy, no chance of a woman actively hate him even beyond the gamma norm. Or are you someone like, my friend Catholic Space Doggos with a wife and kids on the way and kids for days passing on his Chad genes? It is, what's your goal? I'm not going to claim to be some Chad, but I'm working on a 400-pound deadlift, and I might not have the chin for it, but I got the beard for it. That's way better. Movie Bob. Sure, he probably has a good deadlift from lifting his bags at McDonald's. It's where are you? What are you on the path, or are you stuck in the mud? Some people are like, well, I'm going to get a piece of land for my own, and it's like, that's a great start. I'm going to make a family. Yes, absolutely. But are you doing anything else with it? Are you just living your good life and producing children, or are you building things that will outlast you? Owen Benjamin, with his big project of Bertaria, he's not just building something for him today that makes him satisfied. He's building something that will outlast him and that other people can take up the torch of. People talk about Cascadia up there, but maybe it's Bertaria with its God Emperor Owen Benjamin, ranting to his subjects once a day for 2 hours on a live stream, which I would unironically love to be in that kingdom just for that. But it's what are you doing? How are you doing it? Are you at least doing what we're doing right here, creating content that people can consume and be heartened by? Are you heavy laden right now? Well, the good Lord has answers for that. He will provide paths for those who seek them. I before I started Pinkerton's Ghosts, it's like, I need a project. And I started listening to things, and I just got led into horror stories. And now I'm writing horror stories, and I'm putting them on unauthorized. And, I'm finally getting some money off of them. And I'm starting to get more and more guests. And that does something because it's a series of stories specifically about Christians killing the monsters that haunt us, that may or may not be thinly veiled allegories for what's going on in America, but you didn't hear that from me. It goes on and on and on. But this young man, isn't just breeding. He isn't just, finding some woman with a ready aimed baby can and go, phoom, phoom, and this like two bouncy baby bugaboo boys, on his knee. No, it's more than that. It's raising the son. It's providing something for the son that the son can take and then make greater, and then provide to his own son. Because this isn't just one man. In this case, you're not just an individual. You're not an individualist or whatever. You are part of a great chain of being that lasted from Adam, our father, way back when, and Noah, our second father. If you don't subscribe to the one where it's many different floods and there's like the Noah of China and so on, and then through the human race, to you. And it's like, I'm not going to say, oh, well, you survived so much. Your ancestors, no, who cares? You probably had at least 15 of them in the line who were just drunks, but the goal is to.
You look at the lineage of Jesus, and it's like half of it is foreigners, whores, or traitors, or
Right.
foreign traitors, whores. And it's like Jesus's line is pretty sketchy.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, what you come from doesn't necessarily make what you are. What I've been thinking this whole time is that, it's different if there are any females in the audience, I guess. It's sort of different with women because, in general, women are happy or made happy with security. If they know that what they have is going to stay and they're not going to get left and all that, and they're provided for, that's usually happiness. For guys, it's purpose. Like I said, a purposeless man is a deeply unhappy man. And that's why you get all these rich people that are just going nuts. It's all these the unhappily moneyed. It's like, I want to be like moderately rich one day, not like, like just stupid wealthy where there's nothing, but like I want to know that everything is paid for. It's cool. I own everything I have is mine. I have some money set aside, and then when apocalypse happens, it doesn't matter anymore, but it's fine.
And we don't know.
Not so much.
Well,
that I don't
that's
ever
having
have to do anything again.
That's having your guns and ammo set aside is for the apocalypse.
Yeah, I want three or four emplaced machine guns, a couple of mortars, some recoilless rifles.
And
I'm just fine with some fertilizer on the road leading up to my place. I mean, humble dreams.
Yeah, well, and the other thing with this one, because with this particular poem, most like these are aimed, like this set of sonnets is aimed at a young man. I think this one in particular, and like I said, referring a little bit to Stefan Molyneux here, I think this one is a little more relevant to women, because for one thing, like men, like. There's definite advantages to having kids young. If you can find a good woman, if you're, ready to pick that up and carry that, get married, early 20s, start making kids relatively soon. Go for that. But like for a young man or for a man, like, we can have kids until we're dead. Most of us. A man can have kids 70s or 80s. There's problems sometimes, and you're not going to be able to chase them around as much, but you can. But for a woman, there's a hard limit, and also for men who don't have families. I don't think it's ideal, but like we can find other things to do and other things to build our life around. I think most women who don't have families, who don't have kids, well, I mean, there's a reason there's the stereotype of the crazy cat lady. And there's a reason, as feminism has advanced and women have, chosen not to have, more women have chosen not to have kids, that women have grown more and more unhappy.
Yeah, but like,
So,
here's the thing. Like, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like, if the woman isn't virtuous and has like two kids, I literally don't care what their opinion is. Like, it's. I know this sounds crazy, but like, if I'm not out of her or going into her, I don't care. If I don't share genetic material, I don't care. Like, you're some thought on Instagram who practices astrology and thinks the tarot can read the future. Well, guess what? If the Lord wills, I could name the 3 next tarot you pull for my fortune and just tell you what it's going to be and then rebuke the spirit that you're trying to invoke. Like men aren't, like, women just do whatever. They've always done whatever. The conquering horde comes in, guess what? There's a lot of blonde, blue-eyed babies in southern France right now, okay? Or there was. Women will follow whatever the strong men do. The reason why I just kind of talk about men all the time, and I'm always trying to encourage them, is because, like, I work security at a bar, like, for a little bit extra money, because you need money to do things. It's great, but it's like, I see how the women act around men. Literally, a guy could jump around the room, do whatever he wants, and like the woman will just follow him around like a dog, throughout the dance floor. Like, or she'll grind on him, or she'll do whatever he wants. Like, there's a surprisingly lack of will when it comes to, the woman and man relationship. And that's a loyal woman to her man. But then there's like things like, the some of the people I mentioned. I have deep respect for Jaji and A.M. Freeman and others, not because they're very good authoresses in their own right, but because they have kids. Like, because they've maintained stable relationships. They're automatically in the top 10% of the nation. Like, but so it's like, I don't care what they think. Like, well, no, I care about what Jaji and A.M. Freeman think. I don't care about what, like, rando Mick Artho thinks. Because they're worthless people. Like, it's like some guy in a bar saying, "Man, I don't like your face." Dude, I've got like a foot on you and 200 pounds of muscle. I don't, if I don't care about what they think, I'm not going to care what you think. Then I usually grab them by the shoulders, like, "All right, buddy, let's get you out here before you start a fight. You're done for the night."
Well, isn't it? Aren't you glad it's not yours then?
Right. And it's like, for men, for this poem, like, it's written for the man, for his son, and only for his son. And the implication is that the woman will come or she won't come. She'll probably come, and she'll be perfectly fine with whatever's going on if you're a real man. Like, the focus isn't on him and his relationship with his unmentioned wife, but obviously we can assume that this kid didn't spring from his forehead like Athena. It's about him. It's about him being a man, him leading, him saying, "All right, these are the dance moves."
Seeing some very questionable dance moves.
Oh, absolutely, all the time.
I'm not here to say that they shouldn't have been done, because boy did I laugh, but I can say for a fact that I was not going to be it's like, I'm not a good dancer, but I'm not ever going to even try and reproduce those.
Was so it was kind of funny. My one of my kids, when he was 4 or 5, he, for some reason we don't really understand, he was not happy with, like, with me, like, dancing, and and so whenever I started, he would yell, "Stop!" So I decided, if he's gonna say this, if he's gonna tell me I shouldn't dance, he may as well have a reason. So one time I asked him, "Is Daddy too white to dance?" And so from then on, that was just what he would say. Daddy too white to dance.
Nice. So you're talking about earlier all the people who might not exist or who would exist that otherwise didn't. I did the math. If all 5 of my sons follow my lead and have 5 sons or 5 children, and then all their children have 5 children and so on, by the time my great 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 grandsons and daughters come around, that will be 3,125 people.
Yep.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah, and even for failures or the odd one, you're still looking at 4 figures worth of people that come from you. You are their father, or great 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 grandfather.
That will be a terrifying thought to a lot of people in a small town in North Calcasieu Parish.
Well, it's one of those things where I
went to high school with will be like, oh God.
Well, it's like that's one of the reasons why I look forward to the marriage supper of the Lamb. I want to talk with my relatives. I want to see all of it. I want to see the people ahead of time and the people behind me. And probably get into arguments with them because that's kind of the family trait. But it's family. It's family.
No,
you're Germanic, Scottish, something. The temper runs deep, and you're right.
My family, you will be. Honestly, when my family all gets together on, it says on the Golden Shores, the devil's going to hear it in hell. It's going to be that loud.
Oh, yeah.
It's to the point when I was a kid, we would go eat at this steakhouse in town, and the wait staff knew we had gotten there because they could hear us from the back. And so they would have like a little thing. All right, who's got him? And then they'd come out and be like, yay! We'll be like, it's the laughing people. We'll be like, yeah, you can just say the loud people. It's
right. Yeah, it's great. Like, because my family right now is solemn, but like I look back on it and it's like, wait a minute, Scotch, Irish, Germanic, something, something, something. It's like, wait a minute, they've got to be just having arguments. It's like at heaven we're still arguing about theology, but
yeah.
But it's I do want to kind of focus on this stuff because it's like like what I've seen with people and interacting in this world has entirely been about whether or not the man is strong enough to lead. Like a guy can be pretty weak, but as long as he has a strong vision for what he wants to do with his life, the woman will put up with a lot. Like Scalzi's wife puts up with a lot of BS. And yet she, as far as I know, seems to have a pretty decent relationship with him. A guy who's alpha enough can have multiple women. He just is able to balance them. It's not healthy. It's not godly. But again, it's like, be the man, be the leader, have the vision. What are you going to do? Well, I'm a city slicker. Okay, I want to move out to the field and have my plot of land and my guns and my claymore Roombas, and I'm going to have a family, and I'm going to reverse the script on Waco, blah 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 blah. She'll follow. You'll have your sons if the Lord wills. It's just, I see it all the time. It's what I'm doing now when I interact with people. Like I bully the men and I just kind of say, okay, ladies, here's the standard, you lovely things, 7,000 words. And, by this point in time, if you please, and you can have your guest episode, it's like kind of just move it along, for other people with their projects, work with people, don't just do it alone, if you have no social standing, the woman won't feel secure. And so on and so forth. I don't want to just rant. I could just rant. I can rant pretty well, even with a cold.
Well, I'm just sitting here going, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man should be strong, period.
Yeah.
Well, and the other,
strength, duty, and courage.
And the other thing, to kind of get back to the poem, like if he, like it says, when you're a young man, you come out of the gate and you're strong, and and if you're the kind of person that has these kind of leadership qualities, other people will follow you. At the same time, as you get old, that's going to fade. That kind of charisma, for most of us, is going to fade away to some degree, unless there's someone, unless basically you make your own band of followers the old-fashioned way, and which I mean, for one thing, just in the strictly biological sense, you have your devoted followers, and also like I've seen some
the comet will come soon, my men.
I forget where this was. I remember seeing someone say basically, men are not going to follow other men are not going to follow a man who can't get a woman to follow him.
Right.
And so that's another thing too. Like if you remain single too long, at some point your leadership abilities are going to be called into question too. So that's another reason why Shakespeare is telling this young man, by the way, you're going to go out unlooked on unless you get married and get things going there. So
yep.
Oh, but well, I think I've said most things I want to say about this poem. Nate, how about you?
I said everything I wanted to say when I said Wilmot Shakespeare. So yeah. Good.
Hello? Ben, do you have any last thoughts on this poem or on the subject in general?
Oh yeah, like everything I've said before, but hit the gym, find a passion, find something that you can excel in, and then just dedicate yourself to it. Like it's don't worry about a whole lot of the things out there. In reality, the news is a drug, just like everything else our modern world produces.
Ugh.
So embrace some void, lift some heavy weights, pick up a woman and throw her over your shoulder. And if she's the right one, she'll be like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah,
all
okay.
right. It's not a cave.
As long as there's not another guy with her already, like check that first.
You got to look for a ring. If there's no ring,
yeah, if she's not married, she's available. She just might not know it yet.
Remember to card her just in case.
I'm looking at my wife right now because when I met her, I instantly was like, "Hey, want to come bowling?" She was like, "Can my boyfriend come?" I was like, "Bring him."
The Chad move. It's like, yeah, let's do it. I won't blink.
It's like, come at me. Turns out he was in the army, so if he came at me, I was probably toast. But that's fine. He's a nice guy. He's all right. They just weren't right for each other, and me and her were. So, best day, best 11, 12 years.
I love this stuff, though. It's a great poem. I think, it's
all right.
like, I will say one last thing. I have noticed a trend in like people's development in my circles and the superversive circles and a few others where people are just suddenly getting married, boop 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 boop. Even in like non-Christian circles, like people who actually are starting to love each other are getting married and playing it for the long haul. The divorce rate and the things that people were so afraid of, now that the boomers are finally stopping, once all their wealth is depleted and stuff like that, it turns out that people actually choosing to stay together because of that love is on the rise. It's on the rise in my church. It's on the rise in my author groups. It's on the rise in my atheist, quasi-atheist, card playing groups. Like it's like the despair that we felt in 2008 or so. Where we could see were the divorce rates, all we could see were the failures and the lawsuits, and that poor man who killed himself when people shut down his men's home, and all these other things. It's like it's passing away. It's getting worse, but somehow it's getting better. Some people say revival is coming. I don't know about that, but I do know that the Lord is giving out grace for those who'll strive to do it. Not that He gives it for a cost. I'm not saying it works faith here, but I'm saying that if you are the man, if you are pushing for it, if you're acting like this guy, the Lord will be with you. If you're doing you'll find yourself doing His will if you're being a good man. That's just something that hit me right then and there, and I want to make sure I got it in there because it's we do need to bring up the Lord in this stuff because He's the one who will judge us. He's the one who sent His Son for us. And without His Son we would have no path to salvation. Without His death, burial, and resurrection, our sins would be too great for us. Eventually we would turn out like Rome and just eternally build and crash like the tidal waves. But instead, we can hope and have, a stable society that won't burn itself down every 100 years. Maybe we'll see it burn it down this 100 years, but the next 1,000 look pretty good.
I'm hoping we can keep the fires small. Because what you're saying reminds me that the water gets murky when the tide turns.
Oh,
because everything gets stirred up, but then it gets flushed away. And I'm hoping that's the point we're in, is just deep murk, but things are starting to go back the way we want it to.
Oh, yeah. And, like, churches that are doing things are losing their boomers who were doing it. Like, in my church, some boomers left. It's like because the pastor said, don't fearmonger. Fearmongering is bad for Christians. With very direct words, which I would not dare repeat on a YouTube channel. But it's like...
Sounds like you right.
Oh, we have
it's
a great
not
pastor.
YouTube friendly. It's probably decent doctrine.
Oh, it's great doctrine. But it's like, guess what? When the boomers leave, all of a sudden we're like, ooh, I can breathe again. Ooh, like you get rid of the dead weight, the art hose infesting your Discord, the person who opens every conversation with their pronouns, you get rid of them. Ooh, you can breathe again. I feel like, a wrestler who's just thrown somebody out of the ring, like, ooh. Like you can gatekeep your organizations. We could use their rules against them. It's on the table to kick out the art hoe. Be the man. Always do it. If you think it's, if you think it's for the good of society and not your ego, go for it. Who cares about being polite? You could. It's like there's this joke in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure where these girls show up to Jotaro or Josuke and they go, oh, you were so rude to us, you bumped into us, and he's just been fighting somebody and he's like, shut up, I hate loud women. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, you don't have to worry about it. Like, as long as you don't say anything that counts as a hate crime, you literally can do as you please. Like, it's just go for it, be the Christian man, be the man, be masculine.
Well, it's the thing that I've said a trillion times.
Yep.
Being nice is nothing to aspire to.
Yep.
Being pleasant under any circumstance is to be weak. The strength and goodness and justice are not always nice. Okay? Oftentimes, niceness is the way of the coward. Sometimes there are things that need to be said. There are confrontations need to be happened. There are feelings that need to be hurt. So,
if a guest pastor shows up at your...
Wise.
Sorry, go for it.
That be strong, be just, be wise, and if you can, while doing those things, I guess go ahead and be nice.
Be rooting, be tooting, but above all, be shooting. Though my favorite one shows...
By God, be shooting, but above all, be...
Oh, yeah.
It's a good meme.
Oh, yeah. It's yeah. Like, don't be afraid to call out people, about that stuff. Though my favorite version of that meme is be rooting, be tooting, be shooting, but above all, root out godless communism whenever you find it. And it shows a possum in a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Like... I love possums.
Better dead.
Favorite animal.
Man, I favorite animal. Ooh. You know, that's a whole different discussion. We'll do that another time.
Sure. They always look so uncomfortable when they enter a room.
Apparently, there's a mix-up, and the Angels delivered our opossum to Australia, and Australia's opossum up here. Because the Australian opossum is adorable.
I like
And
our
then,
opossum. I think
and
our
then
opossum
we got
is adorable.
then we got the freaking dread maw, mega rat.
Yeah, but it's adorable. Look at it, like like the second it's not like threatened, it's like, please, can I leave? This is a social situation. I don't like it. It's making me
Okay,
uncomfortable.
fine. Introverted devil creatures, whatever. I don't like. I do not. I can respect them for what they do, which is like annihilate tick populations, but I'm still never gonna like them.
Oh yeah, like I heard a hunting thing from a guy. He's like, if you ever have problems with the health of your deer, just spread some cat food around where some possums are and make sure they breed. And then you'll get like basically a population of animals whose one of their purposes is to make sure the large game animals are healthy because they eat ticks. Like it's a virtuous cycle, which ties
Yep.
into the poem because you're creating more value and doing duty towards God's natural world, which we are the stewards of.
We do
Like,
a bad job at that.
eh,
On
we
the
do.
main, humanity on the broad sense. I think we're doing okay in this country.
Oh yeah, we are.
Now,
Uh, well, it's been about 130 years or so since Teddy Roosevelt. But what was it? I was so this is a bit of
we're just
rhetoric
closing
versus
the park ever.
dialectic. He just made the park so we could kill the animals in them. Uh, is that I view myself as like a steward of Pinkerton's ghosts, of the men under me and the people who are guests. And like I call myself a steward, but I don't actually say that. I'm the leader, I'm the editor in chief, I'm whatever you want to call me. But I view it like as in I am in submission to God, who gives me my ideas and leadership stuff and whatnot, so I can work with these men and women to create great products that ultimately point back to Him, because that's the only thing worth writing
So
about.
someday, when Aragorn shows up, he's going to take over the show.
Probably, but I think as an American, he has no rights over me, as I am a free man.
Americans need no king.
Americans need no king. Maybe if he took over the land and actually installed himself as king, I wouldn't like it, but he was a virtuous man.
I'm like, a virtuous king is actually probably the best form of government. So
Oh
they're just
yeah,
hard to come
yeah.
by. So we make do. We make
If
do.
you follow, it's been
Strike
a
one.
while since I've read through the Old Testament, but it seems like it's basically about every other one.
Oh
No,
no,
not
it's
even
like
close.
it's like so like sure, like it goes like Saul was good then
Good
bad.
father, a good father, a good son. 13 generations of utter crap.
Yeah.
Josiah picks up the scrolls and goes, "Oh wow, hold on, this is the law. This is amazing. How do we lose these?" He does pretty well. His son dies basically unnamed, and his grandson's a piece of crap.
So so I've got a list of the kings more or less. Like Saul was kind of bad, certainly bad by the end. Then we have David, Solomon, who were good, sort of, for Solomon. Rehoboam, who was bad. Abijam, who was bad. Asa was good. Jehoshaphat was almost as good as David. And I know that there's some people being skipped in here. I think Jehoram was kind of okay to bad. Uzziah was good until the end. Jotham, I think, was bad, maybe. Ahaz, I think, was just okay to bad. Hezekiah was good, except he tripped up at the end. Manasseh was very bad for most of his life until the end of his life. Amon was just evil. Josiah was the guy you're talking about. And then it just kind of like bad, bad, bad,
Bad, bad, bad, bad, bad. Well,
bad.
actually, after Josiah, it's his grandson, and then it's the Babylonian captivity, and then they come back with
Yep.
Zerubbabel as the next actual sort of king of Israel. The rest of them are just the lineage.
Yep. Like it goes Jehoaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiada, and then Zedekiah, and it's like at least Zedekiah, was like, hey, I'm not going to touch you, Jeremiah, like he took him out of prison, but and that's just from memory. I'm just looking at a list of the names and trying to remember what was going on with them. I do like Jehoshaphat.
Yeah, the kings of Judah were they took a lot longer to nosedive than the kings of Israel did.
They nosedived immediately. Part of it was because they, in pursuit of power, Jeroboam basically tried to remove the religion center from Jerusalem and keep it in a city in Dan and a city in Ephraim, I want to say. And then that just led them all into idolatry. Jehu led a reformation and wiped out the cult of Baal, at least in his generation. But he didn't remove the idols, and he didn't allow the people to worship at Jerusalem. So even if he could have been a good king, he wasn't willing to give up the power of a king and let people have religious authority in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
He killed a hell of a lot of Baal worshippers.
I think we've covered about as much of the poem as we're going to cover. So I'm gonna sign off the recording for tonight.
Thank you for
thank you.
I'm just glad we got to killing pagans before we left this.
Oh, it's a manly duty. It is a sport among men of faith. Though not prophets. You see, the prophets can't get their hands dirty, but us men of faith. Ooh.
Hold on, no, the prophets most definitely can.
Well,
there's another time the prophets of Baal, or the priests of Baal got wiped out. That was one dude.
Yeah, but he was the only one. We've got 3 men right here.
Yeah, fair. All right, sorry, Sean. Let's finish up.
No problem. Okay, so thank you both for joining me tonight, and God be with you.
You too, sir. Thank you.